It's a Monday afternoon in early December and I'm outside on the drive and we're going to be doing some work on the old Tonga Green L322 today. I've got a box full of spares here. We've got a new thermostat. We've got EGR delete kits. We've got inlet manifold gaskets. We've got a couple of injectors, known good injectors, which I took out of another car. We've got glow plugs. We've got a alt dry belt, and we've got the centrifugal oil separator for the crankcase breather and some gaskets for that. So we're going to get started. And you know, this is not a simple job. Well, it is simple. It's just spanners, but it is going to take a little while. I don't think I'm going to get it all done today. But I think what we're going to be doing is we're going to start with disconnect the top and bottom hoses to the radiator down there, drain the rad, disconnect this pipe here, undo that, undo the fixings for the EGR cooler, take this off so we can get to the front of the exhaust manifold where the other end of the EGR cooler is connected. Remove the EGR cooler completely, put the blanking plate on the manifold and put the blanks on the water supply which supplies the EGR cooler. There's this hose here, another one down there. Once we've done that, that's EGR deleted. We'll then rip the inlet manifold off. We've got to change injector number 5 because the leak off test we did last week showed that that one was leaking off about twice as fast as the rest. We'll replace all the gaskets on the inlet manifold. We'll do the glow plugs while we've got the inlet manifold off, and then it can all go back together again with a new drive belt and a new thermostat. Once we've got the EGR valve and cooler out of the way, we'll be able to get to the thermostat, which is down there. So should we just do it? I'm going to put you so you've got a nice view. Just about here. Stick you about there. And you should be able to see most of what's going on. What did I say I was going to do? We're going to start with the EGR, didn't we? Right. Radiator in this. Thankfully I've got a spare radiator, but there you go, I'll just see the first problem. This down, can I get my hand in? This down here, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, this is the bleed screw for draining the radiator. Now you don't have to drain it that way, but life is simpler if you can just unscrew it and done. Looks like this. And as you can see, thankfully, I've got a spare on this old spare radiator. So there's another little job we'll do. While we've got it all in pieces, we'll replace that drain screw. But in the meantime, I think what I'll do is I'll just pull off this hose here. All these hoses are just held on by spring clips. They're really, really straightforward to undo. Use a little hooky tool just to pull the spring clip up. You don't have to take it off completely. And then do a little bit of a twist. There's one. Oh, that lovely coolant. We're going to have to get some more coolant. Let that drain out. It's cold out here. I don't want to stick my hand in the rainwater. Should have warmed the engine up first. Never mind. I'm sure the glow plugs will come out easily. Bottom hose. Off the rad. Now I could take the radiator off, which will improve access and reduce the chances of me damaging it. Shall I do that? As we've got to replace that, bleed screw anyway, I might as well take the radiator off. When these haven't been off for a long time, they do tend to be quite resistant to letting go. Oh, that clip's gone down. Pulled the clip up and it dropped down. Find a screwdriver. There's that one, which means I can lift this clip up properly. Comme ça. There we go. When you take these apart, there's a wedge shaped ring, and behind it there's a rubber O-ring, and it's worth having a check of these because they do get a bit bloated sometimes, and if they're bloated then it's really difficult to put the thing back together again. And also make sure that they haven't jumped out of position. Sometimes this ring gets pulled out and the O-ring gets pulled out, and then you've got a risk of losing them. So when you take it apart, just make sure they're all in place and make sure that O-ring isn't too bloated. You can replace the O-ring very easily, and we'll probably end up doing that anyway. Just stay tuned, you'll see it coming up in the videos as we make our way through this job. So, on the top of the radiator here, when you've undone these two 13mm tops plastic things, on the top of the radiator there's a corner piece there and there, and they have a little catch which I'm going to not be able to show you while I take it out, so we'll just do it and then I'll show you the catch. So there's a little bracket, and that is a little catch that holds it, so you just got to push that back and pull the bracket upwards. And they come off. So they're off. They're off. And now the radiator will just lift out. There we go. When we go to put that back together again, I'll make one good radiator out of the two. So now we've got all this space. Look at that, isn't that lovely? And we haven't got any water in it anymore. So next job is to disconnect this hose and disconnect that and that. Then we can get to the bolts which hold this pipe here onto the front of the exhaust manifold, and the bolt that's underneath there, one there and one there, which hold the EGR cooler onto the front of the block. So that one. Off like that, take that off, and then take that off. Some of this stuff we're taking off is just to improve access. We're not going to be putting it back on again. This is a trim removing tool. I find it an incredibly useful pry bar for doing these sorts of things. You can often, using something like this, you can squeeze it in a little gap like that. One end. There we go. Is that one off?